Hey everyone, welcome to the Three Gun Show. This is episode 267, and I am your host, Dave Hartman. This week's show is a roundtable of sorts from Phoenix, Arizona, featuring Matt Kitzmiller and Kim Pederson. Kim and I had just finished up Keith Garcia's Champions Are Made in Practice 3-day three-gun class, which we do talk about in the show, and we hooked up with Matt to get on the mics, chat about our favorite guns and what the shooting sports are like in Phoenix, and much, much more. Both of these gentlemen introduced themselves in the first few minutes of the show, so I'll let them do that. So before we get started, I'm going to ask a favor. Go into the app that you are listening to this show on and leave a rating and review for the Three Gun Show. I haven't asked you to do this in a while, but leaving an honest 5-star rating and review in Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, etc., really does help raise the Three Gun Show in their algorithms. And with Silicon Valley censorship that is rampant on 2A related topics, I need your help to show their algorithms that you listen to and enjoy this content, because then they will put it in front of people just like you. So please pause right now and take a moment to leave a rating and review for this show. Last thing before we get into the interview here is the Three Gun Show Pro Shop. Head to threegunshowproshop.com. That's threegunshowproshop.com to buy your very own Three Gun Show coffee mug, hat, t-shirt, girly tank top, etc. Your purchase keeps the lights on over here, and a portion of each sale is donated to charitable organizations within the shooting sports. This month, it is Generation 3 Gun, so let's see how much money we can raise for them. Now, enjoy this wide-ranging discussion with Kim Pederson and Matt Kitzmiller. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dave.
For having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
I'm excited to be here. We're in Phoenix, lovely Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm in your AO, and we decided we got to do a podcast before we bail here. So to my right, I've got Matt Kitzmiller. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
It's good to have you. To my left, Kim Pederson.
Hello, and good and nice to be here.
Thank you for having us in your lovely home. I'm a little disappointed there's a dog bed and no dog hair.
Sorry about that. Not trusted with the dog.
Why is that, Kim?
Because the dog has an owner and I'm not the owner.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I could have brought a French bulldog with me. That'd have been interesting.
It'd been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then your dog would be sniffing around like, what is Kim doing when I'm gone?
Yeah, I've got a lot of stories about that dog.
Nice.
But I can't use them here.
We'll talk about those later.
Yeah.
I see a picture of the dog, though, so I know when it does exist.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's, for folks listening who may not be aware of you guys, not quite familiar with the Kim and the Matt show, let's give a little bit of background. Matt, let's start with you. What do you do when you're not on the range?
I'm an electrician by trade, and I work for a big electrical contractor. So I'm a corporate trainer, and I fly around and essentially teach people how to not be rude to one another.
Oh, really?
In high stress, yeah. With a lot of the big data center projects and stuff like that. That's what my company works on. So it's super fast-paced, very chaotic.
Because when something's down, it's like costing money.
Right.
You got to get it up now kind of thing.
Yeah, it's more new construction. It's more like all of the people that make phones and do all that kind of stuff and social media. Those are the clients that we deal with. So it's more new construction. The amount of time you have to do work is just ridiculous. It's pretty rough. So I fly around a lot. I do that. I have a wife in nursing school, which pretty much means I'm in nursing school. And yeah, I have a lot of time to myself. So if I'm not shooting, I do a lot of dry firing. I'm a homeowner, so I'm constantly working on my house. This time of the year, we got a lot of dust storms and green pool incidents. So yeah.
Do you ever end up with like swimming things in your pool? Isn't that a thing here?
What do you mean?
Animals?
No. So like, you see those things on Facebook, and you're like, you're not going to believe what this person found in their pool. Seems like all of them are Arizona.
Yeah. So I have a lot of Coors Light cans, and I would. It's I don't know where they come from. I don't know if my neighbor's throwing them over the fence or No, if I don't pick up my beer cans, they end up in my pool 150% of the time. I've had birds in there. I've had an array of odd insects in there, and nothing other than that. My Jack Russell Terrier catches doves in my backyard, and oddly enough, eats their heads and leaves the body. So sometimes those will float in my pool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't get in Matt's pool. That's what I heard.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, just a regular dude. Nothing too
So
fancy.
you're an open 3-gunner.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I want to say that you've kind of been on my radar for like a couple years now.
Mm-hmm.
When did practical shooting start for you? When did you get into that?
So I started almost exactly 3 years ago.
Okay.
I shot my first USPSA match in like January, February, April of 2016.
Okay.
And liked that quite a bit. And then I was introduced to 3-gun, and you know the rest.
Yeah. It's like, this is way cooler.
Yeah. So I started in August was my first 3-gun match of 2016. I trained a lot with the D'Angelos, with Danny and Daniela and Nick Sadie. And Nick kind of took me under his wing after my very first match of shooting TAC Ops, my only match ever not shooting open. And so went the story. I shot Mystery Mountain here locally in 2017.
Hang on, let's talk about that first match.
Okay.
'Cause you just told a cool story at dinner.
Yeah.
I really liked. It explains your love of open. So what happened there?
So the very last stage we shot, it was a pistol shotgun stage, and I dumped my pistol and went to the tube fed gun. And I'd practiced a ton in dry fire, and I had it licked. I watched all the videos of all the pros, and I knew I had it. And man, I flipped that thing around after shooting it dry.
You're loading strong hand, right?
Yeah, I was loading strong hand, and I was just burning the crap out of my hand. My hand was on the barrel, and it was burning it. And Nick Sadie was on the clock, and he's yelling at me. He's like, "Are you all right?" And I'm just screaming, "Yeah, absolutely, I'm great. Yeah." And he's like, "Are you burning your hand?" And I'm, "Yeah." And I'm trying to jack shells into this thing, and they're going all over the place and hit me in the face, and I'm just loving every second of it. So it was pretty cool. I was gifted my first, my current open shotgun. I was gifted, Danny D'Angelo gave me that gun. It's just a stock Vepper. Mm-hmm. And he swore up and down that it ran, and I hope he's listening because it didn't run. And then I found Dissident, and I started working with them a little bit, and sharing ideas, and mainly them sharing ideas. And so it was fun. It was definitely challenging. It was at the beginning of Dissident, so I was still watching a lot of the Vadim videos, the Vepper 12 all day videos, and I was out front with a 6-pack of beer, and then it went to like an 18-pack of beer, and drills and saws and and grinders and all kinds of things most gunsmiths don't use, but
these are Russian guns.
Keep
Those
it
are
Russian,
tools you
baby.
need. Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have had some vodka.
Yeah.
Well, so then it's been open all the way since then? Yeah,
it has been. I started practical pistol with a Glock 34. Like I think a lot of people do that, right?
Yep.
So I started with a Glock 34. Then I bought a used STI Steelmaster. Well, I traded an M1A for it, for a Steelmaster. Started shooting that, like a lot of people, like Whitell, and I know Whitesides still shoots a Steelmaster. And then I jumped into limited guns for a little bit, shot a couple STIs, and then went right back to a real open gun after that. And shot the traditional open gun, and with the great big old sight on it that can't find a holster for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so we're in Phoenix here. What I consider one of like the practical shooting meccas of the United States. Rio Salado is the only thing that I was aware of before I came here this weekend, and it's a very famous place for practical shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what other sort of matches do you participate in? Like, give us an idea, like, what a particular month looks like for you. Like, do you have, like, your favorite 3-gun matches, your favorite pistol matches?
Right. So my favorite 3-gun, like, club match locally is the one at Rio. Mm-hmm. It's the one that I participate in. It's the one that I give, my blood, my sweat, and my tears to with my culture is there. Or maybe their culture was there, and I took it in and live it. I'm a USPSA match director for a monthly pistol match that was yesterday. So it's the third Saturday of every month. There's a guy named Maneki Samajima, and kind of a well-known pistol shooter. He and I run a match on the third Saturday. So the Friday before, we usually set it up, and we shoot it all Saturday. I shoot Real Salado. We have a black rifle match, which is an intermediate to kind of stepping into that 400, sometimes 500-yard realm. All rifle matched. It's a difficult, pretty difficult match, I'd say. Shoot that every month. I don't shoot a whole lot of USPSA. Not a huge fan of dedicating all my time to it. Like I did for a little while, and it wasn't that fun. It was super fun. Let me start over. USPA is the best thing in the world until you find 3-gun.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, I'm gonna triple down. I'm shooting, triple the ammo. I'm handling, 3 guns. This is the cat's meow right here.
For me, it was the rifle.
Yeah.
Like, that's what drew me to 3-gun.
Right.
The AR-15 for most of, I guess, for 10 years was verboten, and then all of a sudden, like, you can have them again.
Right.
And then I had one, and I was like, what can I do with it?
Right.
And that's when I saw, like, 3-Gun Nation. I'm like, oh, wow, I want to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Rio, like you said, Real Salado is famous for outputting some of the best pistol shooters in the world, and so shooting our matches is not like shooting a lot of other matches that I see. Like, I don't shoot USPSA outside of my club. Every once in a while, I'll venture a little bit, an hour or so away. But
we say your club, you mean Rio?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my home club. So I don't know. It's fun and it's cool, but when we first started shooting 3-gun, when I first started shooting 3-gun at Rio, I could tell that the pistol portion was awesome. Everyone was just smoking the pistol portion. We got into the rifle and definitely into the shotgun, and there was a lot of room for improvement. So when they introduced this black rifle match, which I hope every club introduces an all rifle match, because you really you get to see. I got to see at Rio. It took all of our game and just leveled up, significantly. I mean, some of the shooters up to the point where they're 2, 3, maybe 400% better than they were before.
Wow.
So that's been super fun. It's been really cool to watch, some of the guys that were just struggling really hard with rifle positioning and stuff like that. Just watching them blossom and crush it and becoming competitors, where I'm looking out for them a little bit more than I used to, maybe.
So is this a practical shooting black rifle match, or is this like a PRS style where you just plop into your shooting position and shoot, or what?
So it's time plus, and
okay.
It's a combination between paper and steel. So it's everything from 7, maybe 10-yard rifle shots on paper out to, like I said, 4, maybe 500 yards.
And on the same stage?
On the same stage.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're mixing in some.
So it's
some
basically
hoser.
like a 3-gun stage, but without the other 2 guns.
100%.
Okay, cool.
But like a legit rifle portion of a 3-gun stage, not just let's build a stage so that we can burn some ammo and people feel like they got their money's worth.
Right.
Like this is a big deal. So I helped set up the black rifle match. I helped set up the 3-gun match. Maniki and I do our USPSA match. I try to help there as much as I possibly can. And it's mainly because I like to have a voice. And if you're not helping and you're not, I work at Superstition every year, including last year. And by Superstition, I mean Mystery Mountain 3-gun, our big match here. And I feel like if you're not helping, then your voice is just kind of dampened. You know? Like you don't really have that much of a voice unless you're out there.
That's with a lot of shooting clubs. I noticed that at my first shooting club in Littleton, Colorado, when I worked at Lockheed, like I would volunteer for whatever needed to be done. They needed like ROs, they needed volunteers for like the youth shoot. I would always show up and and all the old guys, they never remembered any of the young guys because we all looked the same to them.
Right.
So I would always walk up to everyone like, "Hey, Dave Hartman, good to see you. Dave Hartman, good to see you."
Introducing yourself like Groundhog Day.
Yes,
every time
seriously. But after a while, then it's like, "Hey, Dave, what do you think about this kind of thing?" So then you get that opportunity to add input.
Right. So I think for me, when it came down to me deciding that I wanted to jump in and start helping, was I had an issue like we were talking earlier, talking about Tim Ramberg's podcast about the 2-gun segment.
Mm-hmm.
I was a new I've been shooting 3-gun for 3 years, so I still consider myself relatively new. But listening to that, maybe last year or so, I started noticing that we were running this 2-gun option, pretty hard. And it started bothering me because I'm sure some of it was ego, where I saw people that were, I had to load a shotgun. I mean, granted, I'm loading an open shotgun, but those open shooters who are listening know what I mean when you put a lot of work into figuring out how to keep them running and how to get them running, and it's still a thing. keeping a shotgun running and shooting a shotgun is still a thing. So when I saw people that were their names were ahead of mine, it bothered me. And then just knowing that, okay, those pistol shots were pretty easy, but with a shotgun, it was a lot more surgical. You had to be pretty careful and pretty accurate to not hit that no shoot or whatever the situation might be. So I felt like, I must have drafted the email, 5 or 6 times to Richard Bella, one of the guys that runs the club out there, or runs the 3-gun division at least. And I would delete them. And I finally wrote the email to him and said, hey, I want to help out more. And some of them are selfish reasons, but I want to help. So how can I help? And he's just basically like, he's English, so I read his emails in the English accent, and he basically said, "Well, turn up and shoot then, and then or turn up and help, and we'll figure it out," or something like that. That's a really bad accent, but
It was English?
yeah, that was
He was definitely speaking English.
I speak English. That was
All right.
weird.
Well, I want to talk about 2-gun here, but let's introduce Mr. Pederson. Excuse me, Kim. Most people think of you as a Minnesotan mostly because of your accent.
Oh, yeah. You betcha.
Case in point.
Oh, yeah.
You did it.
I'm a little more than Minnesotan, though.
Yeah,
right.
so I found out this weekend you were in the Army. You traveled around a lot with that, which explains like your completely ambiguous Midwest accent. Like you can't really place you from anywhere.
Yeah, funny story. So I was just at the Pro-Am, and I was out there with Rob Hall, and he's got a pretty good Tennessee accent.
Yeah.
So I lived in Tennessee when I was in the Army.
You did?
For 7 years, yeah. I was on the 101st right there, Kentucky-Tennessee border. And when I was around Rob, my accent came out.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know how messed up it is to hear me with a Kentucky
I bet
accent or a
that's
Tennessee accent?
It's like condescending.
Oh, no, it's like, where's the banjos? I mean, they should be playing. Close your eyes. Yep, that's right. Banjo's playing.
I've got a pal named Guy who you RO'd with in Colorado.
Oh, yeah.
Guy Dreyer.
Yeah.
And he's from Wisconsin, but he was in the Marine Corps, and so the Marine Corps beat that accent out of him, except when you get Guy drunk. And I've been drunk with Guy more than once. And a couple those times we're in Wisconsin, and it comes out, and it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, well, it's really hilarious for Matt. He really loves to point out whenever I pull out the Minnesota accent. I'm like, oh, Minnesota.
Every time you say Minnesota.
Oh, Minnesota.
Yeah, I love it.
It's fine.
Yeah, it's good. So, okay. First time you and I met, you're in Minnesota. Now you're in Arizona. So when did you get into practical shooting in Minnesota?
So, it was a little over 2 years ago. Adam Toit, he's just a local guy there in Minnesota that I worked with at Ameriprise. He said, hey, Kim, you should come out and try this. And I'm like, oh, what is it? He's like, it's 3-gun. And I was like, 3-gun? Like pistol, rifle, and shotgun? It's like, yeah. And I was
like you already knew that it was pistol, rifle, and shotgun?
I did, just because, I was in the Army. So, if you say 3 guns, I'm not going to assume it's all one, just the same kind.
Got it.
So, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a shot. And I jumped right in and I started shooting it, and I was like, hey, this is really cool. And I made the same mistake that all new shooters do. I went out and bought a whole bunch of stuff.
Nice.
And then I have all new stuff.
Did you buy a Mossberg 930?
No, I did not. I bought a Benelli M2.
Nice.
Yeah, I did. But I bought, someone talked me into buying a Walther PPQ, and then I bought extended base pads for that, and then a holster, and then a belt, and then I bought a rifle, and then I changed every part of that rifle.
Oh, nice.
Well, because the rifle was like an $800, off the rack one, and I was like, oh, this isn't going to work, and need an adjustable gas block, and I like these JP parts, so I put those in there, and I was like, I should buy a scope. And then I bought the Strike Eagle, and I was like, this scope sucks, so I went out and bought a Razor, and then I was like, man, I have a whole new rifle. And then next thing you know, it's like, I don't like this pistol. I'm gonna buy an Atlas. I saw an Atlas in Arms and Arms, and I was like, you know what, Matt Barnhart.
Yeah, I know that guy.
He's one of my besties there in Minnesota. I'm like, Matt, well, how much do you want for that? How much do you want for that pistol? It's like, gave me the price, and I was like, all right, I'll take it. So, and classic problem, right?
Matt's like, woo!
Yeah. Well, I've purchased
Barnhart's
so many.
Stoked.
Yep. I've purchased so many firearms from Matt Barnhart that he could just go through the laundry list, and it's really long. Both my JP rifles and multiple pistols, and that competition pistol, and a nice, really, really nice Wilson Combat CQB in 45. I mean, there's plenty of guns that come out of there.
We forgot to shoot that 509 today.
We did.
God dang it!
Because suppressors are awesome.
Anyway,
we'll catch it. We'll catch it another time.
Well, we'll go outside and shoot it later.
Yeah, we will. Javelinas, they're running rampant.
Oh, that's those little squirrely pig things.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll go get some.
So,
that's an actual animal that you have to have. It's a hunted it's small game here.
Is it really?
It's peccary.
Yeah.
It's not a pig.
It's not. It's closer to a rodent.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
And they smell.
They taste really good if you know how to cook them right.
Well,
Really?
anything you have to.
Super good.
As I told my brother, who hunts avidly, if you have to soak anything in milk to get the gamey taste out, it's probably not worth eating.
No.
So, Chad, that's for you if you're ever listening.
All right, so you started in 3-gun then?
Yeah, I started right into 3-gun, and Minnesota and the shooting community in Minnesota is fantastic. So there's a Minnesota shooting group or Minnesota 3-gun group that was started years and years ago. I mean, at least a dozen years ago, I would think. And they've got a core group of folks that have really built up the shooting sports in Minnesota.
And they're all really active in. It seems like volunteerism is like a very big thing in the culture.
It is. And the Minnesota culture is if you want to shoot, you show up to set up, and you tear down, and everyone participates. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So one of the biggest surprises for me coming down to Arizona is I went and shot my first match. I moved down here in end of October last year. I went out to shoot my first match up at Ben Avery Cactus 3-gun, and they were paying people to set up and tear down. And I'm like, what's this? Why do you pay people? I thought this was a volunteer sport.
That's weird.
Well, it is weird, but I guess not. I mean, that's the way you have to do it down here.
So Texas is interesting because I've observed a lot in my time of traveling around with the 3-gun show, and like half the time my observations just kind of fall on like deaf ears. Like people just stare at me like, oh, that's interesting, but everywhere in this country is so fucking different than everywhere else, and the small little things are indicators of larger things, right? So like Texas, for example, hardly any public land in the entire state, right? It's almost all private. So range memberships are 3 times what they are in Colorado. But Colorado, the ranges are private. So like your option is like I could be a member of this private range or I could shoot in public, but there's no option for you in Texas. So you pay a lot to be a member of range, right? So matches in Texas, they're about the same price as they are in Colorado, but it seems like you just show up and shoot them and leave. And then somebody sets up the match, somebody takes it down. I don't know when that happens or anything, but they never ask for any help. At the ranges I've been at.
I don't. That's totally different than Minnesota.
Well, it's completely different than Colorado too. Like if you show up early, you help set up, then like Matt said, you gain favor of the good shooters and you progress that way. So,
well, and this is where I think Matt and I's story is just very different. I mean, Matt was, and I'm not going to say lucky, fortunate to have someone that would take him under his wing and teach him how to 3-gun. Right?
I think it was Nick just seeing how awful I was. I'm sure he has his own story, but he was probably just feeling really bad for me because I was just ignorantly all in for some odd reason. But sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So Minnesota, as a part of that culture and what they're trying to build there, they do have an intro to three-gun course, and I took that. I think it was my instructor or my lead was Jake Latola, and he fantastic mentor.
Yeah.
I mean, so you take the class and then you shoot the next match, and he squads with the people that he just taught in that match. So great.
Seems like that would be a good opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and one, and I'm not calling out the Minnesota three-gun group. One thing that they haven't done is they don't offer an intermediate class and an advanced class. So they've got an intro class, and then everyone's kind of on their own.
Right.
Now you know the rules. You're not gonna get hurt. You're not gonna hurt someone else. Go shoot. Have fun.
That's one of my big complaints about any practical shooting class at all. When you go from IDPA, USPSA, precision rifle, three-gun, all of it, it's a class.
Yeah.
But if you go into the tactical community, they're like, this is defensive rifle 1.
Right.
You need to have these prerequisites. This is defensive rifle 2. You need to have these prerequisites.
Right.
This is defensive rifle 3.
Yeah.
So there's an actual I know this is my skill level.
Yeah.
I can slot myself in there.
Right, and I started shooting well after Three Gun Nation was a big thing, and all that, and where they had a true classification, so people could slot themselves in, and I get in USPSA. I mean, I shoot a little bit of it, but like Matt, I'm really just not. I'm not into a single gun sport. I really like the concept of three gun, of being dynamic and running around and shooting three guns, and I love shotguns. So I mean, if you guys talked about rifle as being the big draw for you, I love shotguns.
Yeah.
Said every Minnesotan ever to shoot this sport, ever
exactly
to play
true.
these games.
That's a fact. I used to think that it was because they had, was it the Delton range that closed down and they could only shoot shotgun matches?
No, that's not the reason why Minnesotans love shotguns.
So why? Tell me.
Because, but basically, any Minnesotan that's worth their weight or worth their salt hunts, and every hunter shoots birds. And there are pheasants, there are grouse, there are ducks, there are geese.
You guys don't have big game up there?
Sure we do.
But you can't. I think most of your deer hunting is with a shotgun.
It is.
Yeah,
it is.
you
With a
shoot-
shotgun.
Oh.
You have
Shooting
to shoot
slugs.
Oh.
Yep. There's a line called
So you
the
guys are like the
Mason-Dixon line.
Pilgrims.
Kinda. I will tell you.
You got a blunderbuss over
Hold on. I will tell you, Dave, I have seen some of the most amazing slug shots with a shotgun out deer hunting with my old man.
Really?
That would just blow you away. I mean, 135 yards, deer running full left to right, and boom, one shot down. And I'm like, and this is back in the 80s. And I'm like, this is before they had true, Sabot
true
slugs.
ball, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a regular old Remington slug, and boop, down. And
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
how did that happen?
Dude, if you hit me with like an ounce of lead, I would fall too. I'd be like, no, but no more.
I'm pretty sure he had to lead that thing by like a school bus to hit
at
it.
least.
And I think it was like running up over the top of we were down in the pasture, so it was going up over the edge of the pasture lip going into the fields, and he just, boom, popped it down. I was like, I've seen everything.
That's awesome.
So that's why Minnesotans love shotgun, I truly believe.
Okay.
It's because we use shotguns for everything. If you live beneath this line, this highway that runs from like southeast to northwest, everything below that is shotgun.
Huh.
And then you can shoot rifles north of that. But then there's so many trees that you can only shoot 100 yards before you're...
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Colorado, growing up in Colorado, it's all riflemen. It's the American West, You had like the lever gun on every single cowboy's horse and every single bar you go into and restaurants and all the old, museums and everything in Colorado.
Right.
American West. It's iconic. The rifleman.
The old 30-30s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and when we were out in Wyoming shooting the governor's match, I mean, talk about gun culture. We think we have it well here. I mean, Arizona, I think we talked about this the other day about ranking the most gun-friendly states in the country right now. And I think it's a tie, right, between like maybe Wyoming, Arizona, and I hate to even say it, but Missouri, because I think they're all constitutional carry states. You can do what you want basically. I know you're from Texas now, so I'm sorry. We're going to probably make a lot of Texas shooters angry, but
That's fine.
you guys, I don't think you guys have the best gun laws.
Yeah, Texans have, especially Texan 3-gunners, they have this really, I don't want to use that word. I think I'll use it wrong. They have this small view of a very large state. The only things that exist in the world exist in Texas, which if you've ever been to a Buc-ee's, you understand there's a good reason for that.
Those places are awesome.
Those places are awesome. But that said, there is stuff that happens outside of Texas. There are gun-friendlier places. Arizona is definitely one of them. It's been the top of the friendliest gun states for as long as I've been aware of it. So 2008 is when I got back into firearms, and Arizona's always been there. So it's it's interesting that in the mainstream media and most Texans' mind, Texas is the gun friendliest place that you could ever be, but it's not.
Right, right.
I mean, I don't have a problem. I don't feel oppressed by any means, like I did in Colorado, which is one of the reasons I moved, but it's not nearly as friendly as they would make it out to be.
Right.
Law-wise.
Well, and so, let's rewind a little bit and let's talk, so the Minnesota 3-gun group. And I can't say enough about just how nice that community is. I mean,
and it's fun going up there and shooting matches up there.
Right. I mean, Matt talked about it.
Matt, you shot there this year, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Yep. We actually stayed at the Yoders, so I'm gonna give a shout out to Kevin and Ben Yoder, because we stayed over there.
Another staple of the Minnesota 3-gun community.
Yep.
But I can't say enough on how welcoming that community is to new shooters and just to 3-gun in general. I mean, and you said it.
Yeah,
the 3-gun community itself is just so much better, and I hear that from all the pros that I talk to, all the veterans. I mean, even Keith mentioned it in our class that we just took this last weekend, where 3-gunners super nice. For the most part.
Yeah.
Super nice.
For the most part, for sure. Yeah, I mean, the classic example I give is the one and only big, I give air quotes on that, USPSA match I shot. There was a dude that gave me a really bad stage plan on a stage. It was like, buddy, I'm unclassified production. What am I going to do to you? It's my first match.
On purpose?
There was no other reason. There was no other reason. Yeah. Isn't that weird?
That's funny. I've had some conversations with people I don't want to say when I first, but I remember last year at Mystery Mountain, I had a scenario where people were filming me, and I was shooting with the ROs because I wasn't RO. But so obviously I was shooting before everyone else, and I shot a pretty decent match, and people were filming me, a couple people, and I'd asked them not to publish any of that media. And when they asked me, I said, well, I don't want you sharing that. I've put a lot of time into these stage plans, and I was kind of secretive about it, kind of weird about it. And I think that's a USPSA type thing. But the odd part is I was in between waiting for – I was kind of tearing down my stage, and I knew I shot pretty well, and I knew I was going to do pretty good. And I was kind of, getting those flutters about, I did really well at a big match. And I saw Nils Jonassen, and we were kind of chatting about it. And it's a different animal because when I was talking to him about it, he says, well, it's easy for me to say because I'm usually squatted with all of the people that I'm shooting against. My competition is right in front of me, so it's a different animal. And he kind of talked me out of that mindset. And he's one of those guys that I probably drive him nuts, asking him random questions all the time. I text him just random things, and sometimes he responds, and I think other times I think about if I was him on the other end. I'm probably the same thing when 3-gunners ask me questions that I've answered 1,000 times. I kind of think about it like, okay, here we go again. I'm going to answer this. That's going to be fine, and I'm going to be polite, and they're going to love it.
Hey, Matt, what grain was that that you were shooting the other night?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like when people ask me, what are some good big matches? Is like, I do this podcast where all we do is talk about freaking matches all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with USPSA, it's so up and close and personal that every single little tiny detail counts. I mean, listen to Shane's your
Yeah.
podcast with Shane. I mean, it just really, really it reinforces that whole thing.
He was talking about, and you heard this because you and I spoke briefly afterwards on Instagram about it, but he was talking about knowing a specific target as well as we talk about knowing the rifle portion of a stage. Mm-hmm. And he's talking about one target.
Right.
And we're talking about like an array of targets.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how different the perspective is.
Yeah.
From those two things. And it's not, right, wrong, or indifferent at all. Like they're just completely unique sports. But that's one of the reasons I like 3-gun is like I'm not good at that like quarter step and then I can see the target.
Right.
Like I want to run with my hair on fire trying to unsling my rifle and get a magazine in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's where USPSA really does help with the other shooting games, though, is you really have to break down because a lot of times you'll see, the top shooters. We see it in 3-gun too, but I think even more so in USPSA, the top shooter, you're half a point or a quarter of a point from first, second, third, and fourth.
Yep.
And it's just every single step counts, and making those steps count. I mean, I think sometimes we get a little reckless with 3-gun because we can, we can run past a position and make it up and win an entire match still, or win our divisions, or do way better than
can fall on your face, get back up, and
yeah. Shout out to Nathan.
Nathan, we're happy your face is okay.
And
still win your division.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen to you. I mean, you make the wrong move with the pistol game, and you're going to go down a notch or two. It's going to be hard to get back up.
This kind of sounds funny. I recently got a television, and but I haven't had one since like 2008, and it comes with YouTube on it. And so I've been watching like a ton of the old Shooting USAs that are on YouTube. And what they're showing, like, Max Michel against Shane Coley when he was at the AMU, and then they've got I think Blake Miguez in there. Mm-hmm. Am I right on that? I don't know. JJ Ricazza.
Sure.
They've got like the legit cream of the crop, and they're showing what from the television perspective appear to be very, very similar runs, and a dude walking off like dejected and upset, and having to go have his timeout in the back of the bay, and you're like, wow, that didn't seem like it was that slow. But then, like you're talking about, Matt, like it's a game of fractions of a second, and like that one extra little makeup shot that he had, cost him the win. It's insane. But in 3-gun, it's not necessarily like that.
Right.
There's a lot more freedom in that aspect of it.
I think as you whittle yourself down a little bit more, and I think with 3-gun, one of the biggest problems that people have is they don't have gear that's reliable. Like, prerequisite to doing well at anything in life is having, gear that's reliable, that you're confident and comfortable with running. Right. And feeding it with what it wants to feed. I mean, they got to eat what they want to eat. I mean, especially when you're in the wonderful open division, they say. So I don't know.
Yeah, just like sending your crew out to do a new build out without the proper tools.
Right.
You're not going to get a good result.
Sure. I think as you kind of whittle away, and that's a huge step. I mean, you'll see yourself go from bottom to from the mid area of the pack, go up the food chain pretty quick by just having reliable gear, and then having a little bit more confidence, and then you can start looking at things like you guys did the last few days, where you're going to a class by a tried and true veteran of the sport, and he's breaking down, little details that maybe you did or didn't think of, but reinforcing it, giving you something to practice with. I mean, dry firing, people say, oh, just dry fire. What's that mean? Draws? For an hour? Who wants to do that?
Well, the thing that always bugs me about, and what we're talking about with the tried and true professionals, Keith Garcia's class, champions are made in practice. Thing that I walked away, and Kim, we can get on this topic if you want to, but the thing I walked away with most was like a plan now to go forward into my own practice.
Right.
And so what would happen, like, if, as a Little League baseball team, you all showed up, you're all sitting there with your bat and your mitt, and you got your baseball cap on, you're looking at the coach is like, all right, go practice.
Right.
Like, that doesn't get you anywhere. And people say, like, well, just dry fire. Like what? Like
Exactly.
dry fire what? Like
Yeah.
say something specific.
It's funny you say that because I was talking to Matt
Yep.
before we came in here to set up the podcast. I was saying the same thing. It's like I never had a playbook. I never had someone just lay out, do these things.
Yep.
And if you do these things exactly here, I'll show you how to do them. You're going to do them. Now you can teach someone how to do them.
Mm-hmm.
Do these things 15 minutes a day, and you will become better.
Yep.
You just will. You have to do dry fire with live fire, reinforce the things that you learned in dry fire, make sure that you're validating, make sure that you're doing your movement drills, make sure you're doing all the things that, coming to Arizona was the best thing that could have possibly happened to me personally for my shooting career.
Is it because you met Matt?
Yeah, it is. Okay, maybe that sounded really corny. Love you, buddy.
Love you too, bro.
But so Matt and I haven't known each other that long.
Right.
I mean, literally, you can count it in months.
Yep.
And
Like 3 or 4 of them.
3 or 4 of them, yeah. And it was
But
actually
that happens fast though in 3-gun. It's like you meet a dude like
That's
he
right.
seems pretty cool. Next thing you know, you're sharing a crappy hotel room in Missouri. Get to see his tidy whities. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this is
hope
moving
not.
kind of fast.
we didn't have to actually share a bed or a room yet. So
Yet.
we had separate rooms in Minnesota. So
Day ain't over yet.
Yeah.
It's but that brings up a very good point because Rob Hall snores like a pregnant wildebeest.
Oh, buddy.
I mean, it's bad.
Were you there for the
Rob? You need like one of those
CPAP.
CPAPs or something, buddy.
Golly.
We're worried about you, Rob.
Yeah.
So, what do you mean by coming to Phoenix is one of the best things that happened to your game?
Well, so, in Minnesota, Minnesota's got a pretty good shooting community, like I said, we talked about. You go to a local match, and that local match is pretty full. There could be over 100 shooters at a local. It's pretty good. Pretty good participation, right? And especially for Minnesota. But the one limitation that Minnesota has is we don't really have truly a long range stages. Right? So Forest Lake, great facility.
Goes out to 300 yards. You shoot through tubes if
Yep.
you want all 300.
Correct.
And then most of the time it's closed down so people can
Correct.
shoot their rifles, right? The general
Yep,
public.
Yep, and then the other 2 ranges they're also great ranges. But Minnetonka Game and Fish, they have some static steel that's set up on one of the, or you can set up static steel on one of the stages, so you can have something that goes out to like 300. Again, that's pretty much it. And the other one is all bay stages up by Clearwater. So again, we have 3 different ranges that are willing to support a monthly 3-gun match throughout the spring, summer, and fall. Mm-hmm. But it's nothing like here in Arizona. Just nothing like it. So
how so?
Well,
Can you just give me a couple examples?
Well, so an example is when I got down here again, I didn't really know anybody. First person I met, Tony Owens, out at Ben Avery. He was just in one of the bays. I walked up to him and started talking to him, and he's like, and he's now become one of my good friends here in the area. But going back to needing a mentor, right? Mm-hmm. You can't elevate your game unless someone is willing to share their knowledge with you.
Yeah.
Right? So what I'd say is I have all the desire in the world to become a really good shooter. And I started off, I was maybe a little below mid-pack, shooting tack-offs, and then I was like, started getting a little better, and the guys you shoot with, they all kind of get better with you. But then it was like you hit a plateau where I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to dry fire. I don't know what I should be training on. But I'm a guy that I'm a little older than you guys by a couple years.
Can't tell though.
Just a couple years, thanks. But probably more money than time. So I'd go buy an Atlas. I'd go buy an M2. I'd send it out to Hayes and have him work it over. I'd
see if we
get a
can buy an
JP rifle
advantage here.
Right, it's a buy advantage. But I'm one of those guys that you guys are probably making fun of. That look at this guy. He's brand new to 3-gun. And he just went and dropped $15K on gear.
I don't make fun of anyone like that.
But
again, make friends. Like, can I shoot your Atlas?
Yeah, you can shoot my Atlas whenever you want. Do you want to shoot the Erebus or do you want to shoot the Nemesis?
I don't know.
Because
which
it's
one do
the
you
answer
actually
is
have?
yes.
I have both, so you can shoot either.
Oh, okay.
So again, it goes back to I feel like, well, and we didn't talk about what I do, but I don't do anything related to shooting.
Right.
I mean, I own a consulting company in Minnesota. We work with large Fortune 500 companies. We put in large programs and projects. It has nothing to do with shooting. Mm-hmm. Right? So I come into this community, and I just love the people I meet in this community because it's just, Matt doesn't do anything in IT. I would never know Matt if I didn't shoot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, same here, man. I mean, there's tons of people that I've met and, that I could call them if I'm in trouble which is crazy to think like it's a for all intents and purposes, this is just like a pastime after work.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
For most people,
It is.
Yeah.
It is for most people.
and you meet some of the coolest people on earth in the sport.
But to elevate again, if you and a lot, we do this because it's cool, it's fun, but we all have a competitive edge within us that wants to be better,
Yeah.
right? And there's only one way to measure that: head to head.
Yep.
Let's
Bring
go
it.
shooting.
It's what we were doing.
Right.
What we were doing this weekend.
Yep, and it pushed us.
Dude, we're I don't know if you heard this part yet, Matt, but for the audience, we Kim and I were on the line next to each other all weekend, and Keith was constantly pushing us and pitting us against each other.
I heard it.
Oh, did you heard about this? Yeah,
I heard it on an Instagram Instagram.
Oh, you
post.
did? Oh, was it Keith?
I
Because he was back there doing some Instagram that.
I heard him yelling at you.
Yep.
And then the next thing I know, Kim's cussing you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that was my Facebook post.
Oh, I was laughing. It was great.
Yeah,
It's priceless.
So he goes down the line, and then he gets my time, and then he's like, "All right, Kim, you can beat him." And we're shooting open gear versus tack gear.
Yeah.
So
Hold on. Hold on.
my
You guys make it sound like it's so easy to shoot open gear.
it's so easy to shoot open gear. My
It pretty much just hits itself. It's like sharks with laser beams.
the second to the last drill we shot, I was so excited. I was only like 2/10 behind Kim.
Yeah.
He only beat me by 2/10, and I had to quad load. And Kim's like, "Well, you're only stuffing 4, so that's pretty close to stuffing a mag." I'm like, "Yeah, that's just like stuffing a mag."
Well, then don't forget. I mean, I fumbled my pistol reload, and I think I missed the rifle magwell, and I still beat you by 2/10.
I still have a rifle magwell. I still have a pistol magwell, but I don't
Touché.
know. I was just really excited about being that close to an open shooter. So
No, you
But
did,
anyway,
well, hold on. I haven't been an open shooter very long, so we can rewind a little bit. I shot TAC ops at Mystery Mountain this year.
If you want to just keep going, knock me down as much as you want. You can't take it away. I'm feeling good right now.
Dave, you know what?
W's a W.
Dave, I can't take away your performance from the Colorado Championship. So
That was a pretty good performance.
Oh, yeah.
It was pretty awesome.
I cannot take that away from you.
By the way, I looked
Fantastic.
back at your stage, and I was not even close to 180.
That's you weren't the RO. I was the CRO. I'm pretty sure that you were.
Well, good thing I didn't go one step further.
That's true. And close as hand grenades, horseshoes, and you did not break the 180.
I was pretty-
79.9.
Yeah, it was pretty close. But that stage, so your stage was fun. It was all unloaded starts
Yeah.
and shooting pump gun. So it's like,
Oh,
and
that's
we
right. You
had
shot patrol.
and limited to 8 rounds in the magazine. So you got to make every one of them count.
And I'll
it's
say
like,
Dave burned that stage down. So did you.
Yeah.
So did Matt.
Chad Torres was I don't know if I think it had to have been a stage win. Watching that, I mean, I almost ate
Chet
it.
Torres had a stage win there.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yep.
He was on my squad, and I watched him do it, and man, that dude ripped that stage.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't miss a single, just step by step, just execution was awesome. But yeah, that was a fun one.
That was a fun one.
Yeah, I almost ate it. That was, if you remember, Kim, that was I was kind of going back and forth. Do I want my right foot forward or do I want my left foot forward? So those of you who aren't listening, who weren't at Kim's stage at the Colorado 3-Gun Championship, it was an unloaded start with your shotgun in hand. So for
long gun in hand, most of us chose shotgun.
right, yeah, fair enough. So you're taking off out of the box, and for me, I just need to put my mag in my gun. I shoot an open dissident gun. I just put my mag in my gun and rack it because they pretty much rack themselves and shoot themselves, right?
Sharks with lasers.
Sharks with lasers.
baby.
Sharks with freaking laser beams.
Next T-shirt. Land. Note to self.
Yeah. So I take off like a bat out of hell, and I almost tripped the entire portion from the start box to the actual shooting area, which is, I don't know, about 10 feet, something like that. And I tripped the whole way there, and somehow or another managed to get my shotgun mag in and rip it apart. But yeah, Chad Torres killed that thing. It was great.
Yeah. Limited shooter.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Chad quickly has endeared himself to the shooting community.
Great
Guy has
dude.
an amazing personality, and that just shows you, like, it doesn't matter who you are. If you
Right.
come into a community and you're a genuine person and a good person, like you will be known as that.
Yep.
Andy's really light on his feet for his size. He's a big dude.
Played college football.
Oh, I don't care.
That's how
he's
I
a big dude.
That's the only way I can explain it. Like
Chad,
he,
you're a big
he
dude.
moves. Yeah, He was Chad and I trained a lot together when I was living in Colorado last year, and he's a hard worker.
Yeah, he is.
He
is.
Yeah, good
Great
dude.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's we've got a bunch of topics here that Matt came up with when he was on the toilet or something. But one of them is East versus West shooting, and this is like the thing I was saying earlier. Those little things you notice about places that you travel.
Right.
There's definitely a Western style of shooting and an Eastern style of shooting, and I think Western. You guys tell me what you think. Western seems to be very influenced by USPSA. Like there are walls, there are barrels everywhere, there's shitload of poppers, and there's
270 degrees of dirt, what they call
Yes.
berms around you.
everything's in a berm, and there's swingers, drop turners,
Yep.
some moving targets, things like that. You show a swinger to someone out east, and they're like, "What's that? How do I do that?"
Right.
And I would segment it too, because I think there's a line too that goes through the, you call it east-west. I actually think north-south. There's also a line because, Minnesota bay stages, Wisconsin bay stages.
Yeah.
I mean, but you keep going further south, Missouri, Lead Farm, they have an opportunity to go out at distance.
Gadsden, same thing.
Yep, Gadsden, same thing.
Yeah, Colorado, everything's
Texas.
in bays. Nebraska, almost everything is in bays.
Yep.
Texas,
Wide open.
We've got a lot of matches that do have bays, but they don't ever really produce major matches. No. And then, wide open is the flavor of the day. You can shoot really far, so let's put things really far away.
Yep. Kentucky also.
Yeah, Kentucky,
very
same
far
thing.
away. I mean, Rock Castle that was my first time out at Rock Castle for the Pro-Am this year, and it was a very different match than anything I've ever shot. And I think I put down 7 majors this year already, so it was very different. Again, you heard a lot of bitching and moaning about, oh my God, so many slugs and such far slug targets, and there was only 2 papers and 2 aerials in the entire match, and
Wow.
it was challenging though. So it really became a challenging match. I will tell you that.
Did the slug target thing bother you?
Nope. Come shoot a dissident. Why would I care?
I got a dot on
buddy.
there.
Yeah. Why would I
buddy.
care? I'll shoot a dissident, and I know where my slug impacts are. So,
Created a monster.
Well,
Yeah.
So
Should I get this distant gun? Yes, you should. It's going to cost. Yes, you should get it.
So that's another funny story that we need to touch on just real quick. So I shot Mystery Mountain back in March here in Arizona.
You shot in TAC.
I was shooting TAC, yep. And again, I'm a fairly mid-pack shooter, and no one really to help me that was a top 2 shooter or whatever. And I threw down a pretty decent result. I think I was 27th or something out of 217 TAC op shooters. So I thought I did pretty well. But then I was like, come April, and that's when I first met Matt. So Matt, I saw him. I was like, congratulations, and he even tells the story. He remembers it. And I was like, how do you remember me? Well, I don't know a
Because he
lot
was
of
like,
Asians.
I can't believe Jay Carrillo's talking to me.
That's awesome. You walked right in, and he just knocked it right down.
That one is good.
All right, now we got to
was good.
explain that one so I don't sound like a racist.
Oh,
So
well,
Kim,
is it Jomar or is it Jay?
it's
Definitely Jay.
Jomar.
No, it's Jomar. Yeah, no, it's definitely Jay.
What are you talking about?
Well, it was the running joke. It was Gunner, Jay, Jomar,
Right,
Pederson.
right.
Pederson. Yeah, they
Well,
put
so-
our names together. And
But you and Jay Carrillo switched jerseys.
yes, we did.
Yeah, which threw everyone for a loop.
But we did that last year at
It was at Trigun, wasn't it?
it was at the Trigun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's the joke that I was telling there, just because you guys switched jerseys.
We switched jerseys, and then I went around. I had his signature gold Oakley sunglasses on.
No,
and
the gargoyles.
Yep.
And
Or
you were
gargoyles, yeah.
You were drinking a Coors. I remember that because I saw a photo, and I'm like, Jay doesn't. Oh, that's not Jay. I said, Jay doesn't drink beer.
Yeah, I think we even fooled some of his friends. I think Nick Molina came up behind me and was just about to put his arm around me. He's like, "Holy smokes, you're not Jay!" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm like 3 or 4 inches taller, and I actually have muscles, so yeah, I'm not Jay."
Oh,
It's like, yeah,
shots
they made
fired, son.
they made this shirt, and it's like a small.
Yeah, so that's where that came from. Anyway,
But we did it again at Mystery Mountain, and it almost cost Jay a couple
right.
places. Yeah, because I dumpster fired the last stage, and I had his jersey on, and the guy shows me the score pad, and it says, Jay Carrillo, approve. Oh, no. You need to change this. This isn't Jay's time. This is mine.
Dude, you're so lucky you found that.
Dude, yeah, it would have been a bad deal. It would have been etiquette gate. I don't want that.
Because he did really well at that match.
He did.
He
I
did.
think he shot like second or third in tack.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a hardcore match.
Jay had a great match.
That was when I met him. He was so cool, and I went up and introduced myself. And for the next couple of days, I saw him, and every time I'd see him, he's asking me how it's going, and just cool dude.
Yeah, he's great.
If I were to say that I had a tac ops mentor, it would be Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jay tells me a lot of things. He gives me a lot of advice, and I tell him how to be a cool Asian versus him.
Oh.
Okay. So back to the East versus West thing.
Yeah.
So Matt, before we got going here, you said something that I was like, dude, I know I've been saying that for years, and it's that we don't have jungle runs.
Yeah. So John Murray and I went to the Shooter Source match, the Vortex Shooter Source match, and that was
this year, right?
That was this year.
Yep.
Yeah, that was the first time that I've gone east for shooting, for any type of shooting from Arizona. So he kind of asked me if I was interested, and I said I gave the smallest little inclination of interest, or the smallest little just barely even said anything. And he's like, all right, well, here's my flight, and here's what we're going to do. And he kind of had it all, going. And I was kind of nervous, but I was like, all right, well, I'll check it out. And we get there, and I realized that the smells, the sounds, the weather. I mean, I had never shot in mud. I'd shot in rain once in my life, and it was horrible. And I couldn't wait to get under a canopy, and I didn't know if my guns were going to work, and I didn't know what to do with them. And
yeah, water is scary to someone in Arizona,
right?
Especially when it comes out of the sky.
Right. I didn't know what to do, but yeah, that was the first time. And then when I went to Minnesota, I mean, Dustin Sanchez, he had me a spot kind of fixed up last minute for the tri-gun, and invited me out with I think it was it was just under 3 weeks, so I had a very little notice. So I'm looking at all the the match recons, and looking at some of your stuff, and looking on YouTube from previous years, and I thought, oh yeah, a piece of cake, and then you get out there and you realize this isn't anything. I mean, I'm shooting a stage. We had a shotgun stage where it was, I think it was at least a minute, and I'm thinking to myself, that's like an entire match, And it was totally, I came out with my West Coast style of, shoot them dead, and not surveying the field, not looking at what they're doing in Minnesota and how they do it. I never shot on grass, much less the mud in Texas and the overhead tree canopy in Minnesota, where I'm starting with my sunglasses on and everything's fine.
Take 4 steps in and all goes away.
Yeah, then I go under trees and I can't see anything, and it's like, holy smokes, I never would have thought, to ever. This was never something I ever had to contend. So it was totally different, and so humbling, that's for sure. But like Kim said, both Texas and Minnesota, the groups were just awesome to work with. Really, really great people. But I remember, Texas is a perfect example, talking about different cultures. Like in Arizona, you're not going to shoot here at any club and then drink a beer, or drink a beer and shoot, or have beer openly, or any alcoholic beverage anywhere near the range. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And as soon as
Minnesota, they give you beer.
Dude,
the match buys beer.
There's no way
after the match.
There's no way that the people at that match, there's no way that we could have dedicated the weekend to drinking beer and drank all of the beer. There's no way. And then you have Jay or Kim, depending on who you ask, feeding you 4 roses. And it's like, holy smokes, this is the cat. But when I pulled up to Texas, John and I was talking with Mike and Lan, and mainly Lan, about meeting up with him, and that's when I saw you there too. But we were gonna meet at the shooters banquet, so John and I grabbed a bottle of 4 Roses, of course, on the way, and they said that you can bring some cocktails, or bring what you got or whatever. So I'm kind of trying to be as low key as I possibly can, and I pull up and I see Chad Torres and Forrest and those guys. and they're, they got guns in one hand and a beer in the other, and I'm like, this is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life, right? It's like all the things they said you can't do.
Wow, we're adults, and we know that if we drink, we don't shoot. And
Well,
right.
they just let us be adults.
It's so cool.
Well, hold on. So speaking of that, so you talk about adult rules.
Mm-hmm.
They're very different here in Arizona than they are in the other ranges. So you
Right.
go,
Yeah, so
you
we
go
had
east.
a loading table this weekend,
Oh
right?
yeah, oh yeah. That's a very they
Like a
treat
safe
that,
area?
Yep, they treat that very. And we had safe areas. I mean, but it was like here's your safety table, no ammo. Right. You unbag and you can bag and unbag, but usually it's bag and unbag in your car,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, in
and
Texas, you come
being
to line
adult.
with your pistol in a bag.
Yep.
You're like, why is your pistol in a bag?
Exactly. It's just be smart. Don't do stupid stuff and be an adult. So and no chamber flags. I mean, I didn't know I didn't know I had to use a chamber flag until I shot my first match, and I was like, you mean what my gun came with? That thing that you throw away?
Like
I have to use those all the time?
lock?
See, it's different though, and that's the thing is that I mean, when you look at the two different ends of the spectrum, Arizona is a lot more strict. I feel like now that I've shot at a few other places, they're a lot more strict, and I think most of the clubs west follow the same kind of protocol. I mean, pro gun clubs is a lot like that too, but it's very black and white. You will do this, you will not do that. You know what to expect.
Yeah.
Whereas when I shoot out of state, I've noticed that I'm constantly asking, can I change my slugs here? I'm sorry, can I change my chokes here?
Mm-hmm.
Can I handle my gun? Can I look at my red dots? What can I and can I not do? And instead of finding it out the hard way, I think Arizona is very black and white, very matter of fact. And I know that that's easy for me to say because I live here and I'm so used to that protocol. But I mean, I think watching Jerry at Mystery Mountain this year, when he came to the stage that I was ROing, he had taken his gun and just looked through the optic, just making some last minute adjustments or maybe dialing whatever. I was on a long range stage,
Like into the berm?
right into the berm at the table where it's dedicated to handling your long gun, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the RO on my stage, just saying something and being a little over the top, and then Jerry put his gun down. He told him, Jerry, you're not allowed. Kind of yelled at him. And then when it was time for Jerry to come up and shoot, he said, all right, next shooter. And Jerry's down there, and his exact words were, you're going to have to call me by name before I handle my gun or something like that. It was funny.
So Jerry was in my squad, and I remember when that happened. He's like,
yeah.
It's like, well, I guess I can't be handling my gun here or something, or
Right.
I guess I'll put my gun down. Or I was like,
Yeah.
if they told Jerry to put his gun down like that, I ain't touching nothing.
Well,
Right.
and that's like one of the biggest complaints about USPSA multi-gun nationals is that you have very regimented RO staff managing customers that are not used to being regimented or managed.
Right.
And instead of having a I don't know, like a
More of a trusting environment type of thing.
well, no, what I was going to say was like a shooter's brief or like hey, these are some things to look for, that we don't allow here. Like if you're going to go fly with guns, there's a set sheet that often varies, but there's a sheet that you can go look up on tsa.org or .gov.
Or you could listen to the Ruben Alexson
Yeah,
podcast.
Yeah, so
Just saying.
You can look that up. You can listen to Rube, and you'll get through with flying colors, right? But if they didn't write any of those down, and then they just expected you to read the U.S. Penal Code 74586, which is what the USPSA rulebook is. The multi-gun rulebook is 90 goddamn pages.
Yeah.
Like they're like, well, it's written down the rules. Like I know, but do you think you could be better at customer service?
A little bookmark or something.
Yeah, like maybe like I don't know. Have you ever been to Texas Roadhouse?
Yeah.
What do they say when you sit down?
Have you been here before?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, come on. It's not that hard. Have you been to USPSA Multi-Gun Nationals before? No. Here's a fact sheet.
Yeah.
Don't touch anything unless you're allowed to.
And that's a perfect example of Arizona. Like when you shoot at Rio Salado, you're gonna know it. I mean, if it's a major event, you're gonna know that you need a chamber flag.
Yeah.
You're gonna know, like we were talking earlier about East Coast, West Coast, and I brought up slings. Like if I'm gonna sling a gun here in my state, I'm going to have an email that from the match director, probably 2, maybe 3 emails reminding me that I need a sling. I'm going to have a link to where I can buy a sling from
Really?
that guy. Yeah.
Huh.
They're going to have a little discussion about, QD versus the different attachment types. And then I'm going to get a plethora of text messages and Instagram direct messaging about how to sling a gun and how to unsling a gun and what to worry about, what not to worry about. It's very you know it. If you read the emails, you'll know ahead of time. And I think it's just that. They're bookmarking the most important parts that stand out. That people get kind of weirded out by.
Mm-hmm.
So in my short 3-gun career, I think I've shot 6 major matches that required slings.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes it slings both for rifle and shotgun.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But not on the same stage.
Right.
So obviously, right? So you could take one sling and put them on either gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
always
it's a
joke-
staple.
I always joke like a sling probably weighs like 4.5 ounces. Why not just keep that in your shooter's bag?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand like if you're flying or traveling or something like that. So it's like a constant joke. But yeah, if you're a Western shooter, I mean, that's a good point, man. You wouldn't even know that you needed a sling.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, there's some matches that like force a sling whether you need them or not. Like Minnesota 3-gun does that.
Yep. Minnesota
like-
does it. Texas does it.
Well,
Missouri does it.
But I mean, forces a sling whether you need one or not. Like in Texas, it seems like you're going to be finishing on the rifle 100 yards away from where you started, whereas Minnesota, it's like it's bays. So why would you need a sling? Like I'm going to finish 13 yards from where my cart is. Couldn't I just go get it from my cart?
Well, if you shot it this year, you had to come down the stripper pole, so you had to sling the rifle.
I
That
mean,
was
that makes total sense.
Best stage. I had such a bad match, and I remember after that stage, I laid down a solid time, and then Chip Montgomery came up to me and he's like, dude, he was all smiley, and no one was really talking to me a whole lot because I didn't know any, and I was squatted with some of the people that I admire the most in the business, and it was very overwhelming, and that dude came up to me. Chip was like, dude, like I remember looking at him like, and I said this to him, I was like, bro, I promise I can shoot. I know we've never talked before, but I promise I know what I'm doing. I'm just a little out of my element, Hopefully I can get it under wraps, but I didn't.
Chip's a good dude.
He's a great
I
dude.
talked
Chip's a
to him.
great
I talked to him a lot out in Wyoming. He's a solid dude.
Those
he's a funny
three,
guy.
that trio, between Coop and Chip and
Yeah.
Nick Molina,
Yeah,
holy smokes,
yeah, they're
Yeah.
good dudes.
Good
impressive
Great
group.
shooters too.
Yeah, phenomenal. And talking about Minnesota and shotgunners, I remember. So I was squatted with those three. I was squatted with Jake Latola and Nathan Payne, and a couple other phenomenal shooters. Riley was on my squad and Dakota. And watching them with limited and tack gear, watching them swing those shotguns, I just kept on trying to match them, and trying to swing my big, heavy gun, and a dissonance not something that you're going to swing around like a 24-inch Benelli. It's just not going to happen. You can try, but it's not going to work out.
So Matt told me this. So that's what I told you today when we were out at the class. I was like, yeah, Matt told me. He's like, there's no way, Kim, that you can swing that dissonant around like you did your Benelli.
No.
What you have is accuracy by volume.
Yeah.
You have more rounds.
Yeah, and you got to capitalize on that. Yeah. When people are when tack or limited shooters or heavy shooters are stuff in quads, that's when we should be hauling ass as fast as we possibly can, and that's where it kind of offsets the two of them.
I kind of disagree on the swinging thing though.
Okay.
I'm going to challenge you on that one a little bit because maybe it is a lighter gun overall, but when you load 12 rounds in that tube,
Yep.
all that weight is at the end, and it's 52 inches away from your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I know this because I measured my shotgun to get it in my case.
Mm-hmm.
So the dissonant, although it is a heavier gun, that weight is in the middle, and it's much, much closer. The end of the gun is much, much closer to you. So like the what the hell they call it? The lever is shorter. What do they call that? The moment of inertia? Someone will be screaming at the we've got a lot of engineers that listen to this show. They'll be screaming at the radio right now.
Latola's already yelling. I can hear him.
He's just into sandpaper.
He's got a spreadsheet already calculated for it.
We met an engineer this weekend. Who was that? He can help us.
Well, no, Kayla is an engineer at Apex.
Kayla can help us. Anyway, so the point I'm making is that like you should be able to swing it much faster because all the weight is closer to you,
Right.
closer to your body.
Yeah, I think it that makes sense until you try to run your distance. I mean, I'm not a little skinny dude, and I'm not a big dude. I'm just a normal, right-handed American guy. And I would agree with you until I tried to keep up with some of the best in the business and watching them swing those 24-inch guns that don't have handguards and don't have any of the other shit that I have on my gun.
Yeah.
Not to mention, where they have 8 or 9 rounds, I have 20.
Right.
And it's a different animal
yeah,
for
okay.
sure. But it's the momentum of, swinging it's perfectly easy. But it's stopping that thing that it's like stopping a freight train. Like, I don't want to stop it until I'm done shooting in that direction, and getting that momentum going. It's just a different gun. It's a different game, and it's just trying to match. Some of the best, like I said, in that aspect. It was a downfall. It was something that really kicked my butt, and but you learn it. I think a lot of people are nervous and frustrated, and they have a hard time leaving home and shooting away from home.
Yeah.
And they should. That means it's working. It shouldn't be so comfortable where you can go and compete with the best in the business, and you think you're going to do great. Like, I had no false hopes of winning the tri-gun. Of course, like every match I go into, I prep myself and I prep my mental trigger for success, but not going outside of my comfort zone. Like I was telling you before we started this podcast, talking about the Dylan Easley podcast, where he's using a tree as a reference. Like, I've never used a tree for a reference because they don't have trees where I live. I never had to contend that or use that.
You gave that example, and I was saving this for the show.
Mm-hmm.
That drives me nuts when someone's like, "Oh, you just go to the big tree." It's like, these fucking trees are all big.
Yeah.
And like they're all green or brown and brown,
Yeah, exactly.
Like they all look the same. So I would rather, use some other sort of marker, out there.
Me too.
Well, in Dylan's podcast, that was an example, right? Because we do, right? From growing up and shooting in Minnesota and watching the Jakes and the Nathans. I mean, they're not. I mean, that's a very broad example of the tree. I mean, they're using the same markers that we use here in Arizona. Like, like that root or that rock or that's my stop point. That's where I engage for. Right? I mean, so it's the same game. They just are used to different landmarks. So
but then remembering that one tree over there has a target behind it. Sometimes is difficult.
That is difficult, and I would say that was the biggest thing for me coming here. It was like, oh, everything's wide open.
Yeah, you can see all the targets.
But I have barrels. But now these barrels are like, I have to poke through 5 different barrels to engage 12 targets. Like, what?
Yeah. So memory stages, where you do the multiple barrels standing up, and you can only see a few of them from different locations. Like, those are very common in Colorado.
Yep, here too.
Here too.
Yep. Yeah, we don't have trees.
Love to do it.
Oh, it burned me hard.
Yep.
I was like, oof, look at all these barrels. Like, I gotta shoot. What? How many do I have to shoot through this hole?
The worst is the paper, because you can't see your holes in the paper. Like, did I already shoot that one, or is that the one I couldn't see over there?
We should talk about paper versus steel at some point on this, because especially for someone like me that I feel like right now I'm at the cusp of my game. I'm finishing like 70 percentiles in
You feel like you
majors.
got a breakthrough coming?
Yeah, I feel like there's a breakthrough coming, and some of those things are now refining small things, right? It's not minutes that I'm trying to shave off now. Now it's seconds here and there, and refining some of the game. And Matt brought up a good point to me of some of the training things that I should be working on, right? That is very willing to share that information with me, where it seems like you're right, USPSA, I don't know that I'm going to get that same information from the guys that I shoot those matches with. They're not going to share that. Like, Kim, here's how you beat me, right? Because, I mean, you know what? Matt's competitive, and so am I. I would love to give him a run for his money at Mystery 3 Gun next year. Mm-hmm. Now,
what did Keith say this
happen?
weekend? He's like, I just told you everything I know.
Yep.
And now you got to put in the work to beat me.
That's right. And that's the hard part. That's the discipline. And that's why when I'm at Rio, and they just opened up the availability of shooting after hours. So when everyone leaves at 5 o'clock, all the general public leaves, you can go and shoot there. And it's the usual.
That's great.
It's freaking awesome. Especially that I can shoot on a high power range. I can shoot in a pistol bays. There's some permissions. You can't, you gotta earn that right? But it's the same usual suspects, I see Nils there. I
Yeah.
see Jessica Nitzel there, and it's the same usual suspects that are out there. Jim Adame,
putting in the work.
Manicki. Yep.
It's like, hey, why are these people so good?
Yeah.
Because they put in the work.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Guess who you're going to see there?
Kim?
Guess who just got special access to the pistol bays?
Yeah.
Nice.
But that's the thing. Like I was telling Kim, like, if you want to practice and be good with a pistol, then you need, in my opinion, and I'm not God's, greatest gift at pistol shooting, but I can shoot some 3-gun pistol, with the best of them, I feel like, and stop shooting steel and start shooting paper. I mean, because everything is an alpha when you hear the boom ting.
Right.
Everything's perfect hit. But you're probably shooting Charlie Deltas. You're probably shooting, maybe you're shooting, perfect center punches, but a center punch and a Delta is the same noise, same reaction, and you get the same, the same release in your brain that you just whoop that ass. But really, did you?
I feel like there's different situations for it. Like, because do we need to pause?
Yeah.
Okay, different situations for shooting paper and steel. Let's pause and we'll come right back. This episode is brought to you by JP Enterprises. If you're like me, you like building and tinkering with AR-15s, and it's kind of how I got into 3-gun in the first place. Once I found 3-gun, I spent years and a ton of money tweaking my AR to be a race gun, and it always came a bit short. Only when I started from a clean sheet and selected components designed for competition did I start making any headway at all, and most of those components came from JP Enterprises. Back in 2011, when I shot my first match, the best guys at the range were shooting JP rifles. I could have shortcut years of heartbreak and thousands of dollars in wasted money by simply purchasing a JP CTR02, the 3-gun race gun, just to begin with. That would have saved me so much time. Having gear that you can rely on is paramount in this game, which is why I'm incredibly proud to run JP Guts in all my rifles. If you're in the market for some AR upgrades or a complete rifle, check them out at jprifles.com. And we're back. All right. Steel versus paper. Matt, go.
So steel, you shoot steel, and if you hear the ting, it's an alpha hit, right? Center punch it every time. But when you start putting up, an IPSC target, and you start seeing, all right, when I'm really pushing it and I'm really going as fast as I can, I'm shooting, polar opposites of the target. And why am I doing that? What am I doing? And you can better analyze your actual hits and what you're doing that's precipitating those hits.
Got it. Okay, so I agree with you in that context, and that also brings up one of the very few things I dislike about 3-gun is that we never get to see our hits on paper. We always tape it, and then when you turn around, you unload, show clear, or when you unload, show clear, then turn around. That's what I meant to say. Your holes are all gone.
Right.
You never get any feedback, and that's what's cool about USPSA matches is like, oh, I called that a Delta, and it was a Delta. Okay,
right.
Cool. So I am calling my shot. I still pulled a Delta, but I'm calling my shot. But you never get that feedback in 3-gun, so the only place you can do it in practice is in practice, and that's why you're right. I think paper is underutilized. However, there are situations I think where steel is good, and that would be like situations where you're just going to go shoot on the move.
Sure.
And now you're just like, all you're looking for is that ting. So you get out, instead of getting out like full-size IPSC steel targets, maybe you're getting 6x6 knockovers or something.
Right.
And you're going ting, ting, ting as you're shooting on the move. So
which happen to be the devil. I don't know why that is, but they are the devil.
They're really hard, dude.
Yeah.
But if you put those little bastards like pretty far away in practice,
right,
and when they come up in matches, you're like, no, I got this.
Well, you can really analyze what you're doing and see, okay, I was pushing too hard. My grip wasn't, I wasn't gripping my gun right, and that's why, my vertical, I guess elevation and windage, as far as if your hits are above or below or right or left, you can analyze that and usually figure out and diagnose what you did, and then combat that in your next practice session or that same practice session on your next little run. But with steel, and I agree with you, I think there's a time and place for it, but I think that when it comes to practice, the more that you can use, I would use paper over steel any day of the week. I like steel at 80 yards. I like steel at 60 yards, 50 yards. That's great.
Yeah, especially if you're like doing offhand rifle, you put some C zones out at 70, 80 yards.
Yep.
Now you're getting some good practice.
Yep.
Now, paper might be better, right? But that's a shitload of walking to do to go pace those targets, and then that cuts down on your practice time.
And that's something that I know that some of the best, in the business are talking about. Like Nick Sadie, he and I have talked about acceptable sight picture a lot. Like, are we shooting a bullseye match? No. So why do you need bullseyes? You need to neutralize the target. So keeping that in mind for the actual competition environment, but shooting bullseyes in practice. That's kind of how I try to do it. I try to shoot 10 rings through practice, knowing that I don't need to necessarily do that when it's time to perform.
I've been doing a lot of practice with Darren Cepeda over the early part of the summer, and it's really showing in my game, which is awesome. And then Darren's like a super focused dude, so that makes for a great training partner, right? Someone who's not going to come out and like jaw jack for the entire time, but we are there to practice. Cool, high five, see you later, see you next time, that kind of thing,
Right.
Or you don't sit there and BS until you're putting guns up and cleaning up the range, right? That kind of thing. You're focused. Like, that's what you need in a training partner. So one thing that Darren is really good at is making shots very difficult. And
how do you mean?
So instead of like, all right, well, we're going to shoot these 5 poppers at 15 yards, and we're going to shoot them right, we're going to shoot them left, and we're going to see which one's faster. Like, we're going to do that from 25 yards.
Right.
So when you get to a match, now they have 5 poppers at 15 yards, you're like, I'm taking these on the run,
Yep.
So that's what I mean by that. It's like the shots that we do are farther away, the targets are much smaller, the acceptable, I guess, so instead of being the whole target, it's like only 8 zones count.
Right.
That kind of thing. And it's twice as far away as you normally would shoot it.
Sure.
Like, that's the type of shots that I'm talking about, like making it more difficult for your practice.
Yeah, and I agree with that 100. I agree with that 100%. And it's funny, yesterday, so like I said, I Manicki and I run a USPSA match monthly, and I was resetting some steel and painting some steel in between the morning and the late morning squads yesterday. And I noticed that when I was adjusting some of these poppers, making sure they're still doing what they're supposed to be doing and painting them and stuff, the calibration zones are just destroyed on these things. And some of these poppers were out at 20, 25 yards, I think. And you're looking at them, it's cool to be part of a club like Rio Salado where there's like 3, and you're talking probably 60 shooters come through there of all different skill sets and abilities. And the calibration zone is just destroyed. And there's like, 1 or 2 in the head, which is acceptable. And then a couple down below, and I was like, you need to pick up the pace, buddy. But it's pretty cool to watch that. And I know that a lot of those people, they're practicing, shooting little tiny groups so that when they come to perform and we shoot, I think we have 4. You can shoot a USPSA match here, like most places where, you can shoot probably 1 every week. We have steel matches throughout the week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at different clubs. I mean, you can get it. You can shoot more pistol than you ever want to here.
Yeah.
But watching these people do it, it's pretty neat. And most of them are training with paper. Very seldom do I see people with steel. And if it's steel, it's usually a paper and steel combo.
This is what I was talking about, though. I mean, just the sheer number of matches in the valley area here it's just night and day difference from anything anywhere else that you could probably do.
It's a trap.
It is, right?
Well, it's a trap.
So I'll give you an example.
You can shoot all the time instead of practicing, right?
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
And that's the trap, dude. Yep. That's the trap. I mean, I
was talking to Cody and Kayla today. Cody Pace and Kayla
Morrison.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Kayla. But they were telling me how many matches are around here.
Right.
And that is the first thing I thought of is like you could easily get sucked. And I did my first, I think 3 years of shooting. I easily got sucked into I'll go to the Monday night match, I'll go to the Wednesday night match, I'll go to the Friday night match, and I never once practiced,
Same.
Yeah.
That's me. That's exactly where I'm at right now. So I'm gonna cut back on and shoot the matches that are gonna better my game. That I can validate the things that I practice with Matt or with the other guys I shoot with.
It's
But
hard
I
because
have
I
to be able
love
to-
club matches.
It's so
fun.
Especially if
Yeah.
you're, I mean, the three of us are the epitome of the term social butterfly. I love to
Yeah.
talk to people, and I love to talk about like-minded people, and I love to talk about like-minded people about guns,
Yeah.
and I love to talk to like-minded people about guns while I'm shooting them with them. So it's
Have you
it
heard
truly
about
is
our
a
Lord
trap.
and Savior Eugene Stoner?
Yeah.
Well, hold on. Yeah, Gene Stoner, but I mean,
John Browning?
He's
Randy
gonna go
Luth.
Randy Luth. I knew
Oh,
it.
Randy
come
Luth. There
on.
you go. There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. But it is a trap, and I remember Nick telling me, why are you shooting Tuesday night steel? I'm like, well, it's good for you, and he's like, yeah. Well, how many times do you draw your gun? Well, Nick, I drew it 4 times. What, you think you're really practicing? You think that's really good practice? Well, if I'm attempting to practice drawing my gun, nope, it's not good practice.
But I'm practicing shooting steel.
Yeah, exactly.
So I shot my first Tuesday night steel 3 weeks ago,
Something.
4 weeks ago.
Yeah.
With him, and I'm horrible at shooting steel.
Yeah.
Just bad with pistol. It was a train wreck. As soon as the first beep went off, I was like, bang, makeup, bang, bang, makeup. And I was like, what is happening? I'm horrible.
Dude, that place is
steel.
like, I mean, like even that night, the last time we shot, I finished third overall, and you look at the people that are ahead of me, and they're like world champion. They're people that represent our country shooting these guns in other countries, and it's like, it's awesome. It's
That's
the
cool to be
coolest.
a part of.
It's the coolest thing
Well,
ever.
you get so many good shooters. I mean, you got pistol shooters that are world champions. You
Right.
go on the rifle side. You got Kelly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you got. There's so many good
Kelly
shooters
Neal?
in all.
Yeah.
Yep. So many good shooters in all the disciplines here,
Right.
except Minnesota still rules the shotgun.
Yeah. That's a pretty hard one to contend. But I think.
But no one ever says. Well, unless
It's Josh Freilich.
unless
I mean, come
unless
on.
unless your wife or daughter's virtue is on the line, no one ever says, "Get me my shotgun." It's always get the rifle.
That's
No,
right.
that's not true. There's a reason they call it shotgun wedding.
Ain't
That's
you
right.
Ain't you been to
That's
Minnesota?
That's the same situation I just said.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were going the other way.
Someone's virtue's on the line.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's the
You only
Cougars.
half listen. Yeah, that's okay.
But I think I think shotgun is a culture that should be rich everywhere. And
I love shotgun.
dude, I love it. I don't know if this is a perfect transition or a perfect segue to the 2-gun conversation.
It is.
But I was thinking about
Let's
2-gun.
talk about PCC killing shotgun.
Oh man,
No, I'm kidding. Let's talk about 2-gun.
yeah, I think you beat that one pretty good. That horse isn't gonna get.
You have no idea.
So I listened to the Tim Ramberg podcast, which is great, and listening to him kind of discuss the opportunity to take on a 2-gun.
We kind of were joking around a little. Adam and I were kind of joking around a little bit there in that podcast about guys going and hiding in a new division, right?
Right.
Yeah. So Russell Fagan, he's a shooter around this area,
Yep.
right? Sinistral Rifleman,
Yep.
just happened to be the creator of the YouTube video that made me think like I want to go shoot 3-gun.
Yeah, I remember you saying that a couple weeks ago.
So I've been in contact with him. I'm going to have him on the podcast at some point here. I haven't done it yet. So Russell, if you're listening to this, sorry, buddy. But so he's a big proponent of 2-gun,
He is.
and you guys live in the same place. So
Yep.
I'm kind of thinking, maybe there's some like mixture of ideas that are happening there.
There is, and it's. I think with Russell, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And I talk to him, fairly frequently. We don't have long walk on the beach type talks, but we do talk. And I think for him and a lot of the people that kind of fit the same mold as him, it's more of a why would I wouldn't use this in the real life.
It's practical, right?
Yep, and I can respect that. But by the same token, this is a game.
Yep.
And we might invest, shit tons of money into it. I know I did. I did the same thing Kim did, where I went booty buck wild and bought all the shit, all the things you could possibly buy, like 10 times, and then sold them all and then retooled and reconfigured for optimal efficiency this time and then did it again. but with a lot of the 2-gun folks here, I think it's not exactly the same thing. I don't think that a lot of the people that are shooting 2-gun are concerned that they're going to use a gun that's not applicable to, I don't know, the streets. I guess, not to poke fun at that group, but a shotgun. I mean, the Vepr wasn't made for competition. The Vepr was made for straight war, right? Mm-hmm. And you could tell by the shells it wants to eat. It wants to eat bad boys, right? It wants to eat stuff that's gonna.
They better be heavy and fast.
That's
Super
right.
high velocity.
Yeah.
So when I was listening to the Tim Ramberg thing, we went through the 2-gun growing pains here at my home club, and I was part of that. And it, like I said earlier, it kind of upset me initially because some of the guys that were shooting 2-gun are phenomenal 3-gunners. They're phenomenal multi-gunners. Maybe that's a better term to use. But they don't want to shoot a shotgun, and it's not because they don't think that it's tactically worthy. It's that they don't want to deal with the headache. Mm-hmm. Well, that headache is what we call 3-gun. That's 3-gun. It sucks. It sucks. It really does. But once you overcome it and you can work it, and you can stick those quad loads, or you can stick that magazine swap. It pays off, and it's so fun.
Mm-hmm. It is.
And oddly enough, I was talking to a friend today, and he brought up 2-gun, and it's because one of our where you guys shot at Cowtown. So at Ben Avery, they have the Cactus League, and at Cactus, it was under 3-gun nation rules for as long as I've been shooting, and they recently went to outlaw match, an outlaw format with SMM3G rules. So the Superstition Mystery Mountain 3-gun rules, this last weekend I think it was, and I had asked him how to go because he shot 2-gun, and I asked him how it went because prior to that, under the 3-gun nation rules, they would allow you to shoot 2-gun. However, you're going to take a penalty on every stage for every unhit shotgun, portion.
Aerial, right?
Yeah, or I
static
guess
clay or something like that.
Yeah, everything that you're supposed to only shoot with the shotgun, you're going to take a penalty, which is bullshit. Like that's one of the silliest things ever. So I'm talking.
It's a discouraging mentality.
Super discouraging.
Yeah.
You're not setting anybody up for success. It's just straight failure.
Right.
And that's not. I mean, I want everyone to win. Like when I see somebody screw something up, it devastates me sometimes more than it devastates the shooter. It's brutal. Like I hate it. I want everybody to be as best as they could possibly be.
Dude, I always look at people that are really jacking something up hard and like, dude, we can fix you. Mm-hmm. I know what you're doing wrong.
Yeah,
Come over
exactly.
here.
But I was talking to a friend of mine today, TJ, about this whole scenario, and he and I are on a different level. Like he appreciates 2-gun a lot, and I told him I appreciate 2-gun. However, I expect that it's essentially a gateway drug. I expect that you're going to shoot 2-gun until you can afford, get enough confidence behind a shotgun that you're going to be a 3-gunner. That's my hope for you. Like I like the idea of 2-gun, but only as a gateway drug, only as a feeder. Because I want you to come in, I want you to experience. Like I think it's real easy to pick up a pistol and shoot a pistol. And it's real easy to pick up a rifle and shoot a rifle. It's not that difficult. They eat a lot, right? And if you want to feed them, 20, 60, whatever more, it's real simple to do.
Well, the interesting thing about the shotgun is, so when I talk to people now that are USPSA shooters, like, oh, I'd shoot 3-gun, but I don't want to shoot a game where it's where the only thing that matters is how fast you can shoot the shotgun. It's like, you haven't been to a 3-gun match in a long fucking time.
Right.
Because that went out. So, Kim, you came in after the weekend load, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so what Keith was showing today with the 4 shells stacked in your hand that you had to shuffle in with your thumb, that was the way that I started. That was the only way to –
yeah, I didn't have that.
That was the only way to shoot 3-gun. And, yeah, it did matter a lot. And Keith said it today. He's like, there was 3 of us that knew how to load, and 3 of us won every time. And he calls it the good old days.
So by the way –
that doesn't exist anymore, and the level the playing field is level.
So by the way, I do have to do a clarification because I believe that we talked a little bit about where quad loading started and how it became adopted and I'm going to do a little shout out because Jay told me Jake Carrillo told me a long story about quad loading and how he figured out that tiger paw chop chop.
Right.
And started doing it at matches and started kicking everyone's rear end with quad loads, and then everyone started jumping on board. So, Jay, that was for you.
So Jay Carrillo started quad loading.
That's
Holy smokes!
All right.
Dave. We're in front of royalty right here. Jay's right in front of us, right?
I'm
You heard it here first, folks.
Jay Pederson.
I'm at least 3 inches taller than he is, and a lot more handsome.
much older.
But I think the two-gun thing, if you figure out a way to score it, it's great. If you figure out a way where the playing field is somewhat neutralized, I think it's awesome. And I think they've figured that out at Rio Salado. What they haven't figured out is how to display those scores.
Right.
And that's one thing where Pete Rensing and the UML crew or the USSL crew are there's so many acronyms involved in that whole area.
Dude,
but
Pete, goddamn, kill the acronyms.
I know.
At least make them mean something.
But I mean, you shoot a UML match, you want to know who the overall winner is. You're gonna have to get some screenshots, and you might have to bring ingot paper into this, like Mitch Hedberg, right?
And I don't understand. I don't understand why you don't want to show high overall, and then I don't understand why high overall matters so much to people, especially in USPSA, where that is what I'm led to believe is the reason that most people in USPSA hate the PCC so much, is that they easily take high overall against the dude with the open gun. It's like, why do you care, bro? It's a different division.
Yeah, and that's it. So I finish pretty well when I shoot at Rio Salado. When I shoot Rio Salado any pistol matches, I stay in that top 10. And when I shoot multi-gun or rifle stuff, I'm a little higher than that. And it's easy for me to say, I don't mind high overall because I'm usually in that conversation. But when you look at a TAC guy that whoops in the entire open field, like you got Tim Yackley that's going out and crushing, an entire, 200-man roster of legends. I could imagine that feels great. You don't have the same equipment, and you're wrecking shop. It's got to feel great. And high overall in that aspect, I'm sure it feels good. But you look at people that, like in USPSA, you look at the single stack guy that finished, 20th overall. That sucks. But when you look at the fact that he finished first in his division, it's awesome.
Exactly. So why does that guy care? So Aaron Hayes had a post this weekend about limited division. He said it best. He's like, limited is the best excuse in 3-gun, because if you beat your buddies in TAC, you look like a superstar because you did it with 1X. But if you don't, that's cool. They should have won anyway because they had scopes.
And that's a perfect example. So Aaron Hayes, when I really had the first time I ever really had a conversation with him was at the 3-gun championship in Colorado. Mm-hmm. And what he said to me was really interesting, because he said, I wished him, best of luck and told him, good shooting. Like, I think he won his division, and I won my division. And I also won high overall. And the thing that he said to me was, I was hoping to win high overall.
Aaron said that?
Yeah. And I remember looking at him like, well, I'm sorry that didn't work out, but I'm happy that didn't work out. But it's case in point. It feeds right into this whole conversation. Like, of course, if you can go with, and I don't know if he shot limited gear or he shot, I think he shot limited gear.
Pretty sure he shot limited gear. I think he's been shooting limited this entire
Yeah.
season.
And I mean, that's quite the accomplishment. If you can take limited gear and you're going to take your red dot and you're going to whoop on me with my 1 to 8,
yeah,
then more power to you, dude.
Well,
you're the man.
So that just makes me laugh. Have you guys ever done any autocrossing?
I don't even know what you said.
Autocross?
What's that?
Autocross is it's like racing cars, but it's in a parking lot and they put up cones. And so it's like what we do. They go and they put up all these cones and they make a race course in a big empty parking lot. They race and then they take all the cones and put it away, and then that goes back to being a parking lot. And they race everything. Yeah, dude.
Kim looks like you're speaking a whole different language.
So there's these things called cars.
I mean, I used to race motorcycles, but this whole autocross in a parking lot thing, it sounds pretty redneck.
Oh, boy.
Well, I'll show you some videos of it. It's exactly what we do, but with cars. And they have different divisions. They have divisions for everything from a stock Miata to a twin turbocharged, roll caged Corvette ZR1, like,
boy.
Yeah, everything in between lies somewhere in between that shit, right? But that's like saying, like, oh, I was racing my Miata, my stock Miata convertible, and I wanted to beat your Corvette ZR1.
Right.
It's like, well, you chose the wrong tools for the job if you wanted to win high overall.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
So, but I think the matches matter, right? Because I think in regionally, because I've shot all around the country this year, and let's be honest, each region, each state, or each area, they cater to what they want to shoot.
Oh, for sure.
So I guarantee you thought that Minnesota match was very different, didn't you?
Oh, God.
That's exactly what I've been shooting my last year or my entire shooting career until I moved here.
Right.
And the Texas match,
Yeah.
I shot that match last year too, and it was exactly the same. It's jungle runs, muddy. It just was like, this is interesting.
Stuff really far away.
Skeeters.
Stuff really far away. Skeeters, yep. And so
Do you guys have mosquitoes here? Oh,
Yeah.
just by your pool.
Yeah.
we do actually.
Not like Texas.
Not like Texas, not like Minnesota.
Not like Minnesota.
So
Where did I just get killed at? Oh, it was Wisconsin.
Wisconsin,
Oh
yeah.
my
It's just like
God.
Minnesota. I mean, it's too many bodies of water. It's just mosquitoes just love it. So what I'm saying is, every region they cater to what they want to shoot.
Yeah, so I guess in that sense, I can understand why Aaron wanted to win high overall, because in that particular match,
What was the furthest target?
There was no long range.
Right.
Yeah.
It was like 260
Yeah.
yards or 280
yeah,
yards.
in patrol, I shot my 1X, and I was not scared at all.
Right.
But I mean,
It's a good point.
Not that Aaron needs defense, but I mean, in his defense, if you're not going to a major event and wanting to win high overall, I think you're shortchanging yourself. I want to win. I want to beat
the high overall. Like, so again, I come from the racing world. Like, whatever that Corvette does doesn't matter if you're racing in the Miata division.
Right.
So, like, I don't understand. I don't get it.
I know that it has the potential to draw some lines. I know that it has some potential to separate some personalities and cause some potential conflicts. And in that sense, I'm not a huge fan of the big list, and I'm a huge fan of how Pete does things. And when I shot Safariland, I saw that, and I kept on trying to adjust it to, all the scores combined, and I couldn't do it. And I kept on trying to do it, and I couldn't do it, and it was frustrating. And I'm so used to seeing that, but yeah, it's just different,
Yeah,
it truly is different. But I think once you find the way to implement two-gun, you're going to bring in more people. There's no way around it. And even talking to my friend TJ today, I asked him what the result was with implementing two-gun at our local match at the Cactus Club, or the Ben Avery Club, the Cactus match. And he said there was more people,
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it attracts the more tactical type folks.
That's where I was going to go with that. Is
Mm-hmm.
the thing that turns me off about two-gun is when I see two-gun only matches, it's like damn near LARPing, and they get angry when you just run through a stage. Well, that's not tactical. Buddy, we're shooting paper.
Yeah.
So that's the problem I have with it, because for me, I like playing a game.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to go train tactically, if I want to go train for personal protection or whatever, that's what I'll go do.
Go to gun site.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Go to level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4.
Exactly, stuff like that. So
there's nothing wrong with that, but
yeah, so
it's the game.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying is, like, I want it to sport. But I can imagine what a really fun multi-gun match would look like if we were only using our pistol and our rifle.
Right.
That is in the realm of possibilities.
Tactical games?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of LARPy as well.
It's LARPy, but it's two-gun, and you gotta bust your ass to get
Dude,
through
I've been watching Dustin
that-
Sanchez feed on the JP feed.
Let's not get off on that. That's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
I'm talking about
Sorry.
an actual 3-gun match. Sorry, I'm going
You're
to
good.
spoil that because we only got about 5 minutes left of memory card here. So I don't want to go off on that
You're
big
good,
tangent.
you're good.
But what I'm saying is, like, 2-gun, I think could be cool as a concept with, like, practical shooting stages, like USPSA stages,
Right.
3-gun nation stages, UML stages, whatever you want to call them.
Mm-hmm.
But like when it gets LARPing edge,
Right.
that I don't really. identify with that.
And I don't mind the tactical guys that are decked out and all their stuff. I think it's great. I think it's cool. Don't be a dick, and I'm all about it. Don't come to my arena where I'm a member of this culture or subculture, and start talking your shit.
Yeah, and so that's the thing I should clarify is that the reason I bring out the LARPing edge of it is because it always ends up like, well, that's not tactical. I would have beat you if you had done this tactically. Blah blah blah.
Right.
It's like, buddy, this is not Fantasyland. We're seriously shooting paper here. These aren't going to shoot back.
I mean, if people really want to get into tactical, I mean, there's several professions that'll do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it for many years, and there's lots of other guys that shoot in the sport with us that do it professionally now. So,
but you didn't get to carry a Vepper, much less a dissident Vepper.
All right, guys, we got 2 minutes left, so we're going to do final thoughts here. Kim, final thought. Sorry to cut this a little short, but this is one of those rare occasions where I got a full memory card. Final thought, Kim.
So I think final thought is really around future of the sport, and what's really where I think it somehow misses the mark is we got a lot of focus. We should really be shifting our focus to people like, and I'm not just saying just me personally, but people in their 20s, 30s, maybe 40s that have a job, they love guns, they want to come out and do this. They're the ones that disposable income. They're the ones that are going to fuel the sport and keep it going. You got to keep finding those people and bringing them into the sport. You have to. If you want this sport to continue to grow, that's your market. You should be going after them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we always talk about the kids being the future of the 2A. I think in the shooting sports, there is a 6-year gap where they disappear when they go to college, start their career.
They find boys and girls.
Maybe they come back, maybe they don't.
Yeah, they find the opposite sex. They go to college. They have to start a career.
Yep. All right, Matt, final thought, buddy.
I'm a huge fan of the game. I had, like Kim said, he didn't have somebody that was mentoring him quite that much, or maybe he had a few people, but I had people that were super nice, super welcoming. They were very quick to share all the information they possibly could, and I think that's what we need to do. We need to bring our due diligence and make sure we grow this thing. Just every 2A conversation, really matters, and how we can draw more people in is being friendly and being welcoming, and if that means bringing 2-gun in and hoping to groom some future 3-gunners, and that's what we need to do, and we owe that to the games that we cherish so much.
Even if it means bringing in PCCs.
You're absolutely right. All right, dudes.
You said absolutely right. I'm just saying.
You are. You guys are absolutely right. This has been a ton of fun. Matt, thank you. Kim, thank you. Appreciate you, dudes, taking the time to be on the 3-Gun Show.
Thanks for having us on, Dave.
Love it. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the 3-Gun Show, and thank you to the people that support what we're doing over here, including Vortex Optics, IWI US, JP Enterprises, and the 3-Gun Show patrons. I'll see you on the range. $36 seconds left. Anything else you guys want to say? Lightning round. Hell damn fart.
We need to bring open heavy to the games.
Ooh, open heavy. Kim, anything else? No?
No.
Slug only division.
Oh, no.
No again.
But it would be so fun. 12 round mags.
It'd be so expensive.
308.
It'd be so expensive.
4/5.
I mean, you want to drive people out of the sport. There it is. Hey, we're having a slug-only shotgun.
All slug, all steel.
All steel shotgun slug.